Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning for our webinar, Quality Management, Bringing Emotional Intelligence to the Contact Centre. My name is Patricia. I'm the UK Marketing Manager for House Interactive. Before I introduce our presenters, I'd just like to go through a few housekeeping rules. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out in the next couple of days. To preserve sound quality, all the lines have been muted, but if you do have any questions, please use the bottom right-hand panel, and then we'll put those questions to our presenters at the end of the session. Now to introduce our presenters. We have Jeremy Payne. Now Jeremy Payne is our International VP of Marketing. He has extensive experience in customer relationship and interaction management. We have Trevor Davies, who is Head of Products. Trevor has 30 years experience in the software development and telecommunications markets. And we also have Niels. And Niels is going to take you through the speech analytics and a demo later on. And he has 15 years experience in the outbound and speech analytics space. And joining us for the case study is Dougie McManus. Now, Dougie is the CEO of Zinc Group Limited, and Zinc Group Limited just recently won Credit Today Best Collections Technology Award for implementing the House real-time speech analytics. Now, without further ado, I'll hand over to Jeremy.
Thanks very much, Patricia. So first off, thank you to all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules today to join us on this webinar. Hopefully we'll be able to impart some useful knowledge and understanding around the subject area of quality management. From experience of speaking to sort of many of the customers that we have in the field, we've found, you know, on balance that actually people do like a blend of understanding the context of the problem and what's going on out there in the marketplace, but also a little bit of show and tell around the product, and so a customer testimonial or reference, so somebody that's actually taken the technology, tried to solve the problem in the real world example, and that's hopefully where Dougie from Zinc steps in. So today's agenda is really looking at how we evaluate agents, how we improve quality, how we identify training needs, and how we mitigate risk and liability. And I think one of the big shifts that we've seen, you know, over recent years is really the shift, I guess, towards the sort of first direct approach to customer service. So if we went back 5 years ago, we would have seen many organizations fixated on numerical statistics around things like average handle time. How do I reduce the length of the interaction with the customer? How do I speed things up? With little kind of thought given to what's happening to the experience of the customer. And there's two sides to that coin. So there is the physical stuff, the stuff that you think you can measure, which is the number of calls coming in or the number of interactions and how quickly you're handling them. But there's also an emotional side to it, you know, and actually when you think about yourself in interactions, it's that gut feeling after you've finished that interaction. How do you feel about that organization? Would you buy from them again? Would you recommend them to a friend? So the problem is a lot more sophisticated and complex possibly than people first thought. So hopefully today we're gonna touch on some of those areas and demonstrate how companies that we've been working with are looking to improve those things. So from an organizational point of view, some of you may already be a customer of House and may have an understanding of who we are. Some of you don't. As a company, we've grown pretty rapidly over the last 5 years. As you can probably see from the graph below, our revenues have grown pretty consistently by about 25 to 30% year on year. We're a global company, about 1,500 employees worldwide, and a lot of that growth has been driven on the back of our sort of enhanced portfolio. So we've grown largely through acquisition, and we've augmented our sort of portfolio of solutions within the marketplace around 4 key areas. And the first is contact center, and we have three core flavors of that, which is effectively small, medium, and large. Works in the cloud, on-premise, or hybrid. We have offerings around call handling and receptions, so many large organizations where they still do have receptionists handling calls. Small point of interest, but we were the call handling technology provider for the London 2012 Olympics. So we have a long history and pedigree in that space. Growing footprint in the self-service world. So we've seen more and more organizations on the back of the sort of increased mobility and sophistication of the customers that they're dealing with, more need to provide more enhanced and advanced self-service tools. So we've got a whole kind of suite of capability there. And the fourth area, which is really what today is about, is around our quality management offering. And we have a whole series of tools and capabilities in that space. And again, we're seeing a lot of traction in the marketplace where people are looking to improve the quality of what they're offering. So I think when we look at many organizations, they're structured really into two camps. The first camp is the group of people that are considered to bring revenue into the business, and then everyone else is in the second bucket of a cost center. There's departments or groups that cost the business money. And I think customer service historically has always sat in that second bucket where people see it as a functional area that's must have, you've got to have it, but it actually costs the business money, which is where all of the kind of historical thoughts around reducing average handle time, quite often offshoring customer service centers, all of that kind of came from, just drive the cost down and down and down. I think when you look out in the marketplace today, one of the trends that we're seeing, and I think if you watch most TV adverts where people advertise UK-only contact centers as an example of that, there's a growing recognition that just driving the cost out of your customer service operation isn't necessarily a good thing, and potentially improving the quality is something that will increase revenue, increase customer sat and loyalty. And most organizations don't spend probably enough time actually considering what is bad customer service costing your organization. We all know that it's a lot cheaper to keep an existing customer happy and sell them more stuff. And for those of you that buy things on Amazon, you're probably fairly familiar with how sophisticated and clever they are at making you buy more and more things. What most people don't spend a lot of time doing is actually thinking, what's the cost of providing poor customer service or customer service that isn't as good as the peers and competitors within your marketplace. And at Enchhouse, we commission globally a piece of research every year, and we also buy in research from several large analyst firms to form a view as to what's going on in the marketplace. So this particular piece of global research that we commissioned looked at 3,000 people worldwide and looked at what the drivers were within their mind in terms of the interactions that they have within their interactions with the companies they buy from. We also, in parallel, interviewed the organizations that are providing those services and look at what their view is, and there's quite often a big disconnect between the way companies perceive the customer service they're giving and the way the customers that are consuming it perceive it. So some of the statistics that come out are really quite alarming, and that is that 96% of dissatisfied customers won't even contact you to tell you they're dissatisfied, and that's kind of worrying, because unless you can pick up on that in real time at the point of the interaction with the customer and sense that things aren't going well or that frustration level is building up within that customer, you may not pick up on the fact that you've disappointed that customer, and they may well just next time choose to buy from one of your competitors. And to that end, 86% of customers said they'll quit doing a business with an organization if they receive bad customer service. So when you think about the cost of acquiring those customers and getting them to the point where they've made that first transaction and purchase with you, to lose them just on the back of one piece of poor customer service is really quite scary. And 51% of people, more than half, said that they will only give an organisation if they do bother to interact with you to say something's gone wrong. And this is what McKinsey and others call like a moment of truth. 51% of people will give you that one chance to put it right and fix things. And if you don't fix it fairly quickly there and then, they'll be off and become one of the 86 that are buying from one of your competitors. So, you know, getting customer service right and understanding what's going on with the interactions that you're having with your customers is key to success in today's business world. Second to that, and allied to that, is reputation and brand. And so if you think about yourself right now, imagine you're stood at Heathrow Airport, you're just about to get on a plane, and there's two planes parked up, and they're both going to fly to the same destination. The plane is identical, the plane's the same age, the cost of the flight is the same, and one plane's got British Airways painted on the tail fin, and the other one has Ryanair painted on it. Now, on the surface, you know, both products and offerings are the same, yet you will have, on this webinar right now, you will have made an instinctive decision as to which plane you want to get on. I'm not going to guess which one it is. I know which one I would get on. And that's what's going on in the marketplace. And what's interesting is that, you know, the brands that are offering the good customer service, that are seen as reliable and credible organizations, are not only got enhanced customer loyalty, but they're selling more repeat purchases to people and are quite often charging a premium for effectively an identical product. So there's not just a cost element to this, there's also a really big revenue element. And so hopefully today we're going to demonstrate some ways that improving quality and understanding what's going on with your customers and the people that are serving those customers within your organization can really create a compelling business case for you. And finally, you know, it does get worse than that. So, you know, we've seen over recent times numerous organizations find significant amounts of money, and I think, you know, you will have all been inundated at some point with an automated phone call or text message or email for somebody offering you PPI, you know, claim cover. And if you think about that, actually what went on there was, yes, products were missold, but an awful lot of the claims that banks are having to pay out on is primarily because they can't demonstrate historically that they did the right thing and treated the customer fairly. They don't have call recordings of the interactions they had with their customers. They don't have screen recordings, and they can't hear that they actually followed the process set out at the time by the FSA in a clear and defined way. And because of that, because they can't demonstrate their innocence, they're found guilty. So the ability to, you know, follow the right processes in a consistent way and avoid exposing yourself to regulatory risk is something that's, you know, growing on many of the companies that we deal with agenda. So in summary, you know, we see a world that's changing. Customer service has become more critical than ever. Most organizations are selling and working in a marketplace that's mature, and they're having to compete on, you know, one of three things really, or a combination of one of three things. You're either competing on the product that you're offering, which is kind of like Apple, they're a highly innovative company. You're competing on price, which is a little bit like Ryanair, or you're competing on customer service, which is a bit like the John Lewis First Direct model. So more and more organizations are seeing customer service as a revenue opportunity as opposed to a cost center. We're seeing that multi-channel interactions are now standard. It's table stakes. You know, a few years ago, being able to interact just through voice and having one person dealing with a couple of emails here and there was kind of acceptable. It's not anymore. You have to have a fully integrated multi-channel offering that allows your customers to interact with you anytime, anywhere, anyhow, 24/7. We're also seeing on the back of mobility, more and more customers are increasingly tech savvy. They have more and more capability in their pocket with the power of their mobile phone, and they're more and more happy to deal with things through self-service mechanisms, which is great because it saves your business money and allows you to reinvest it into the interactions that do come into your organization, which by definition, if the easy stuff has been handled through the mobile phone and self-service, the stuff that is coming through to your organization is going to be more complex. And many of the customers we see are seeing those interactions come through the voice channel. So with that said, I'm now going to hand back to Patricia and she's going to ask you your thoughts on some of what we've just covered.
Thank you for that, Jeremy. Yes, I just have a quick poll, and I'll just be interested in what you guys think on this question. So let me just launch this. And the question is, how are you monitoring agent activity today? And you have call recording, scoring, reporting, surveys, speech analytics, or not monitoring effectively at the moment. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds just to get those results. Thank you. Activity going on, so I'll just give you a couple of more seconds. That's great. So let's just have a look. So here are the results. So we have at the top 77% call recording, second scoring and reporting at 64%, service at 38%, 15% of you are not monitoring effectively at all at the moment, and only 5% as speech analytics. Now, looking at that, Jeremy, what do you think of the results?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really consistent with what we've seen with many of the customers that we've been dealing with. Most people do have a call recording capability out there. Most people are sampling some of those calls for quality and training purposes. I think what is significant is when you kind of look back at the slide when we looked at the 96% of people will leave an organization if they're not getting good service. Most will only give you 51% will only give you one chance to put it right. One of the things that's typical of call recording is it's historical. So you're looking back at a call recording that happened yesterday or last week, and it's a sample. So what's significant here, if you're dealing with one of those customers that is in that 86% group that's saying, if I receive poor customer service, I'm just going to leave. I'm not even going to tell you about it. Really, the trick here is to be able to recognize and pick up the fact that that poor customer service is happening there and then, and recognize it's happening and try and connect it in real time so they don't end up in one of the 86% that are going to leave. And one of the limitations of call recording in isolation on its own is it is typically historical, so it doesn't allow you that ability to identify problems in real time and correct them. And hopefully today, when we look at some of the speech analytics capabilities that Niels will walk through, we'll see that there is there are ways around that problem. And I think it ties in as well to this concept of one size doesn't fit all. So, again, in the research that we saw clear delimitation between the views of the younger generation, 16 to 24-year-olds, their requirements around digital channels and self-service channels and their ability and willingness to use those channels. And then when we look at an older generation, say 55 plus, and their perception of brand and reliance on a brand and the ability or their willingness to pay more to deal with what they would consider a trusted brand. And quite often preferences around voice channels, wanting to deal with the human as opposed to a computer. So there are differences in the way people want to be treated and handled. And I think part of the trick here is having the technology and the people and processes in place in your organization to accommodate that. So with that said, I'm now going to hand over to Trevor, and Trevor's going to talk a little bit about the customer journey and how things can be enhanced.
Thanks, Jeremy. And I think it's very important to understand the customer journey into your organization. As we've just pointed out, one size does not fit all. So think of the demographics of your customer base. You may have a very diverse set of demographics within your customer base, from young people who are tech savvy, their smartphone is effectively an extra limb. They walk around with it permanently attached to them, and they are tech savvy. They like apps. They like technology. They like to interact with it. They like things to be done instantly. I had a recent experience of a fault with my broadband connection, and I was able to resolve that more quickly using web chat than by picking up the telephone and dialing into the contact center. I think it sort of illustrates the advancement of technology, but I'm not entirely sure that the organisation would have been able to capture that unless they had the monitoring tools. My satisfaction, if you like, with being able to resolve it quickly, unless they had monitoring tools in place to do so. So I think you need to understand the customer journey. You need to understand how customers enter your organisation and have the tools in place to satisfy different demographical needs. Obviously, that's email, voice. Increasingly, that's things like web chat. Potentially, even delivering solutions through apps. We certainly do that with some of the applications in our portfolio. Once you understand what the customer journey is, of course, it's then very important to be able to analyse that customer journey. What we're really trying to do here is understand customer emotions, sentiment, and being able to do what I call first call resolution. So satisfy customers' requirements the first time they call. Think back to those statistics that Jeremy was talking through. You really only get one chance at this with customers. So having the tools in place is definitely of critical importance. I'm not sure I've got the ability here to click through to the next slide. Yes, I have. Okay. Now we deliver the QMS product in what I call a sort of modular approach, and looking at the poll statistics, 77% of people are doing call recording, and that's really the heart of the system. But I treat it really as a commodity, where the value comes with that call recording product is the solutions and or modules that you put on top of that to provide you with the analytics information that will allow you to understand the voice of the customer, the sentiment of the customer, provide coaching tools to your agents in real time, so that they are able to respond to what's happening during a call or an interaction with a customer. And excitingly, we're now evolving that into the real-time speech analytics arena, where Niels will provide you with a very intuitive and insightful demonstration. So we take a modular approach, and the modular approach really is there to allow our customers to grow and evolve their contact center analytics capability. So we're going to take a look at some of the applications now within the QMS portfolio. But just in summary, before we do that, looking at the requirements of a contact center manager, they really rely on software applications, tools like wallboards, coaching tools, monitoring tools, and analysis tools, real-time speech analytics, that sort of thing, to be able to run that contact center effectively, keep an eye on the operation, respond to unexpected events. There could be a fault with a particular service that you're delivering, and you get an unexpectedly high call volume. It's being able to coach agents in real time as those things are happening. The managers of the contact center need the tools to be able to respond quickly and ultimately fulfill that sort of first call resolution aspiration that I've alluded to. Taking a quick look now at some of the the features of the QMS product itself. Obviously, at the heart of it is the call recording capability, and as I say, really that's what I call a commodity. That gives you the basic framework of being able to analyse events through the contact centre. Where this starts to become valuable is in the ability to then share recordings, conduct evaluations of staff, add additional information associated with those recordings that can be done historically or in real time, which enhances the search, retrieval and analysis of those recordings over time. We can monitor in real time, so for example an agent may be dealing with a difficult customer and they may want to flag up to their supervisor that they want some online support. Well, the supervisor can monitor that call and provide additional assistance to the agent if required. Again, there's a very sophisticated set of reporting which gives you sort of a historic view of the contact center, so you can effectively measure the effectiveness of changes that you implement over time within the contact center. So you may be running a particular improvement program. The reporting of the system allows you to measure the effectiveness of those changes over time, so that you can see whether they're having a positive or negative impact on the contact center. And a lot of the applications here are linked through to the desktop, both the supervisor and agent desktop, so you can interact with the recorder, retrieve information from it very, very, very quickly, effectively, to help you resolve issues as they arise. Linked with the voice recording, we have a screen recording capability. This can give you a sort of complete picture of what the agent is doing during an interaction with a customer. So you've got the voice element of the conversation, you've also got a recording of what was happening on the desktop at the same time, and this can be used very much as a sort of quality assessment application as much as anything else. So you're looking at the effectiveness of the agent as they interact with the customer. The screen recording is fully linked to the voice recording. You can use this as part of an agent evaluation process, and it just gives you a holistic picture of what the agent is doing during a conversation or interaction with a customer. And then linked to the recordings, be they voice or screen, is the ability then to set up an evaluation process for contact center staff. And this is quite important because if you think about the sort of life cycle of a typical contact center agent, it tends to be fairly short. There are exceptions, obviously, but you really, as an operator of a contact center, you want to be able to onboard staff quickly, get them up to speed and effectiveness very quickly, and then have a program of continuous improvement. And that's not just their working effectiveness, but that's also a program which incentivizes and motivates those staff. They do a pretty difficult job. Quite often they're talking to dissatisfied, angry people, and they need to be able to confidently deal with those people, and it's a responsibility, I feel, of an organisation to ensure that they are given the right tools to do that. And our scorecard application is something that can be used to sort of monitor that program over time. It can be conducted, you can basically create an evaluation based on your own personal criteria that you want to measure by, apply different weights to different questions, and come up with an overall score for all of the agents in the contact center. So you can identify agents maybe that need extra coaching, You can identify specifically in what area they need additional coaching. So for example, you can listen to a recording, annotate that recording with particular comments. The agent can evaluate that. You may provide additional coaching tools for them to address maybe knowledge gaps, etc. And recently we've introduced the ability now to link this with our audio mining application or speech analytics application, so that we can automate some of that process. We can effectively listen to a conversation and automatically apply scores to it, which improves the effectiveness because you're not having to spend hours and hours going through this manually. Again, fully integrated with the desktop experience, so that can continue to evaluate this in real time. And I'll just point out on this particular screenshot, I don't know how clearly you can see this, but John obviously isn't working terribly hard because his work time is only 1 minute. We maybe need some slightly improved sample data there, but we are basically using a CTI interface here with the contact center, so we can obviously look at all of the status of all of the agents, whether they're online, active, idle, etc. And that information can be built into the evaluation process. Final point from me really is obviously many of us work in industries which are regulated, and obviously a call recording system certainly historically has been used to help companies adhere to regulatory standards. We have standards like the payment card industry, PCI DSS regulation. There are regulations for premium rate services in the UK. It's called TIS. I'm not entirely sure what that stands for. We've got the Direct Marketing Association in the UK. In the financial sector, you have the Financial Conduct Authority. Within Europe, you have a regulatory framework called MiFID. And all of these regulatory frameworks require businesses to keep records of their customer transactions, and obviously call recording is a key element of that, because this is basically evidence of instructions that companies are giving to customers. So a critical element of that. Call recording itself is just putting a call recorder into an organisation doesn't automatically make you regulatory compliant. It is part of a framework which allows and helps companies to become regulatory compliant. And obviously we implement our recording solution with industry standards which help companies to adhere. So we use strong encryption. There's an audit trail of system changes, secure access to the system, etc., etc. And all of these features are very important for companies to demonstrate to regulatory bodies that they meet compliance standards. And at that point I'm going to hand over to Niels, who will take you through a couple of slides and a demonstration on our real-time speech analytics capability.
Yes, thank you, Trevor. Our real-time speech analytics is slightly different to what you might expect when you hear the term. We've got a unique approach in the sense that we are using a phonetic recognizer, and that is different in the sense that we're not trying to turn speech into text, or that we're just trying to index where something has been said. What we're trying to do, or what we are doing instead, is that you predefine phrases that you want the software to look for. And then as the call progresses and things are being said on either side, either by the customer or by the agent, the speech analytics will then recognize that. The reason why we're doing this is very simple. Speech to text is a fascinating concept on paper, but it doesn't actually work very well. You know, we've seen tests that it works less than 50% of the time, so you're really better off tossing a coin, whereas with a phonetic recognition we are, you know, we're close to perfect. It's a toolbox for scoring calls, so the fact that you know, something has been said in itself is not much use yet. You then need to attach scoring to it, whether it's good or bad, required, and these kind of things. Ultimately, since we not have any kind of physical presence or anything, the only form of communication really is reduced to the voice on a call. So the customer experience ultimately boils down to what is being said and how it's being said. And to that end, we've got what we call soft evaluators. So that is looking at how things are being said. You know, is the agent interrupting the customer all the time? Is he speaking clearly, so can the customer understand that? Is he speaking too fast or too slow? This kind of thing. And the face recognition is looking at what is being said. You know, have the terms and conditions been read correctly, and so on. Our solution works in real time, so on ongoing calls, as well as is able to process batches of recordings after the fact. It's integrated with product QMS, which Trevor explained beforehand, but it's also got its own reporting tools. So speaking about oops, that's too far. Speaking about the phrase recognizers first, so based on the phrases that the software is then looking for, you can put them into different evaluators, as we call them. So you can say certain things are required to be said on the call, and if they are said, then the call is compliant or is correct. You can have good phrases that would be, for example, things for upselling or cross-selling. So if these things are said, then the overall score is raised, but it's not necessary in order to deliver a correct call. On the flip side of that are bad phrases. So if those are mentioned wrong product name, or worse even, then it reduces the score of the call. And then we've got something that's quite interesting for those who need to, for instance, ask opt-in questions or some these things. It's dialogue pairs, so that's something looking on the agent side. Has the agent asked a question in the right manner? And then once that's been detected, then within a certain time window, did the customer answer in the expected way or not? Regarding soft evaluators, we've got a couple of soft evaluators. I've already alluded to that. Things like clear speaking, you know, is the pronunciation and the speed, so that the customer actually has a chance of understanding the agent. You know, everybody here has been on a call to call centers that are offshore, and will be able to sing their own songs about the experience of that. But even simple things such as volume, I've had it a couple of times where I needed to ask an agent to change the position of their headset microphone because I just couldn't hear what they were saying. And then at the top end of sophistication, we are able to measure the stress level, again, both of the customer as well as the agent. And that's useful if you think about a complaint situation, for instance, and you have an agent who consistently managed to reduce the stress level of the customer far quicker than everybody else on the same hotline, then you might want to listen to his recordings to work out what he or she is doing that is putting the customer at ease so much quicker. Maybe you can bottle it and transfer to the other agents. But also things that are useful, such as cross-talking. You know, is the agent interrupting the customer all the time? That's usually accounts for poor customer experience. And also things such as speech ratio. Is it a hotline? Then you would expect a more balanced a ratio of what how much airtime essentially the customer has and the agent has, rather than at this moment I'm holding a presentation and I'm the only one who's talking. So that would be 100% speech ratio. I'm not going to delve much into in the reporting side, but I did want to show you this screen here. This screen shows the lifetime of a call, and these graphs there show how the scores changed over time. Now the problem with a QA function in any call center is that you're basically hunting the famous needle in the haystack. So our software, by covering all the calls and flagging up those who contain a problem, is doing the search for you. So it's presenting you with the needles out of the haystack. But then as you go into the call, it also is able to highlight the portion of the call that need your attention. So rather than somebody randomly choosing a call and they listen to it from start to finish, all 11 minutes of it, the software is now able to point out that at minute 5 there was an issue, so whoever your operator is might want to listen around the minute of that to see why the call went down south at that point. Just think of the efficiency gain you have through that, and use the time of your QA people much more efficiently. Lastly, as I said before, the Vocal Coach is fully integrated with QMS, so the scorecards and the bookmarking, things that Trevor mentioned beforehand, the Vocal Coach is able to do that on the fly. So as the call progresses, it already populates things in the scorecards, so that if you then later have somebody doing a manual review of the call, they just need to add to the things if they choose to, that the Vocal Coach has already populated. Right, I'm now coming on to the demonstration, but before I do that, I just wanted to explain to you what you're going to see in a minute. So this panel called Live Client that you see there on the slide, the idea is that is sitting on the agent desktop, and it's taking a little bit space on the right hand side of the screen, and the rest of the screen is available for your CM agent desktop software. And what it does, it gives the agent live feedback during the call. So you can put in whatever configuration you want to have. It depends on the campaign or the hotline, obviously. And you can put in the required bits. So what are things that the agent need to cover off in the call, and then as the agent progresses through the script or the call, the software will detect it, tick it off, and remove it from the list. So ideally, as the agent gets to the end of the call, the list should be empty. If it's not, then either of two things have happened. The agent didn't say it or didn't say it right, or he did, but the software didn't hear it. In any case, it allows the agent to deliver a correct call and fix issues like, forget to ask for the date of birth or whatever it might be before the call is disconnected. Because if you find out afterwards that the call was non-compliant, then you might already be in a world of pain, or at least it will be very expensive and time-consuming to repair that, because you have to call the customer again, might not get them. In the meantime, the customer might have looked up the offer that you made and found out that it's not as hot as your agent made it out on the phone and asked you to cancel it. So you obviously want to make sure, or the agent wants to make sure, that that's all correctly done on the call. Okay, I'm now going to switch over to the demonstration. All right, okay. Okay, so what you see now is the live client on the right hand side. I'm going to move it a bit so that you can see what I mean. I want you to ignore the rest of the screen, because that's just software for me to be able to actually simulate this. I'm generating a call to myself, and I just want you to focus on the right hand side, the live client, please. Right, okay. As you can see, I've now got a call. The script has populated on the right hand side. You see three boxes. On the top are the required phrases of a script that I need to go through. Below that, the empty box, or the two empty boxes. The first one is nice facts. If I mention those, I get a smiley face there, and the overall quality of the call is improved. And if I make a mistake, I'm going to deliberately make one, you will see that the box will flash red and I get a frowny face there, pointing the mistake out to me, so I get the chance to rectify it. Below that, you see two of the soft evaluators. I haven't put on the stress level because I don't want to show you how nervous I am. But there is a volume indicator and also an indicator for the speaking rate, and you can see how I'm actually a bit fast, so I'm not always in the green space. Right. Okay. I will now start with the script. I will now start the recording of the call. This allows you to make free calls as much as you like. The minimum contract duration is 24 months. You will receive the brand new basic package. There is a monthly fee of $10.95. Right, okay, so as you can see, it's not heard everything I said. That's because I've not actually done it right. Look at my script. So let me just repeat those pieces. This allows you to make free calls as much as you like. You will receive the brand new mobile basic package. Okay, now that I read the script as it's actually in front of me, you will see that I've ticked off all the required phrases, and I made a mistake. I should have not said basic package. What I should have said is premium package, and because I did that, I earned the frowny face in mistakes. So that's in a nutshell the demonstration of the software. So think of the benefits of it, which is that rather than being told afterwards that that I got it wrong and said things that I shouldn't have said, or forgot to cover parts of the course that I should have said. It allows me to fix this problem while I have been speaking to you. Right, I'm now going to hand back to I'm going to hand over, sorry, to Dougie McManus, and the introduction is going to be made by Jeremy.
Yeah, well, thanks very much for that, Niels. I think that was really really useful, and I think if we just take a second and step back to the very start of the presentation, when we looked at the the 86% of people that would leave if they received poor customer service. As Niels sort of alluded to, you can configure the speech recognition engine with and measure anything. So at the bottom of the screen, we didn't show you stress levels, but there's a whole set of different measurements that you can take during the call to see whether the customer's getting stressed, whether your agent's stressed, whether your agent is using inappropriate language. They're all things that can be escalated, and in real time, if the call's going wrong, could be escalated to a supervisor to intervene within the call in real time and pick things up. And equally, I think when we think about the PPI example, the ability to see that people have, for example, in a financial services space, used the wrong phrase or read something incorrectly from a script which could potentially null and void a contract, the ability to recognize that in real time on every single interaction that you're having and have the opportunity to correct it in real time, or at least flag it to a supervisor there and then, is something that many of the organizations that we've been dealing with have found very useful. And one of those organizations is Zinc Group, and as Patricia said at the start of the call, Zinc Group have just won an award for their work within the credit and collection space. And so with that, it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Dougie McManus, who is the CEO of Zinc Group, who's going to tell you a little bit more about their experience and what they've been doing to improve quality within their organisation.
Thank you, Jeremy, and good morning, everyone. You've had a very in-depth demonstration of what in-house real-time speech analytics and Vocal Coach does. What I wanted to do is maybe take 5 or 10 minutes of your valuable time this morning just to maybe put a practical application of how we use those particular applications within our business. As it mentions there on the slide, the Zinc Group are a credit management and receivables group in business outsourcing. So we are kind of unique in that we have more than one client, shall we say, to satisfy within the one account. And I mean by that we have our client, which is effectively a high street bank, major utility airtime company. We have their customer, who is the person who obviously has the account. We are obviously regulated by the FCA in regards to what the requirements of regulation are. And as a business, I also have a responsibility to my customer account managers, the actual hundreds of people that we have on the telephone delivering the service. And it is a service, and it's customer service, so we effectively have a 4-line customer service area. So what we did, and like probably most companies in our industry and perhaps in quite a number of industries, is we have a reasonable sized QA team that monitor and control and score our agents on, at best, probably 5% of their calls. Now, when we were thinking about the next generation and how we could gain an edge in our competitive market, that was an area that if you're doing 3,000 or 4,000 calls as an agent a month, 5% doesn't really represent a true reflection of the work and commitment that you've given to the business over that piece. And it's very important for us to understand where our agents can improve, what are their training requirements are, and so 5% was never going to get us there. So by introducing Vocal Coach, and please believe me when I say this, because I'm not very complimentary about a lot of things, and a lot of times it's been a revelation within the business. It's about putting a coach right next to one of our agents every minute that they are dealing with our customers. And if you do bear in mind that we are a credit management and debt recovery business, not a lot of our customers are all that pleased to hear from us in the first instance. So doing that for a 6, 7, 8 hour shift can become as tiring as anything, but we've got to understand the customer's needs. Part of our regulation is that we display an empathy and we get the right affordable solution for that customer. And that does mean quite a lot of interaction. So what Vocal Coach gives us is we can put up the key phrases to be phonetically pronounced by our agents. So there is the regulatory requirements, making sure we're speaking to the correct person through DPA, making sure that we do question them on affordability, do understand the root cause of what got the customer there in the first place, do understand what their financial position is at the time. So as I say, it's like having a coach sitting on their shoulder for the complete time of the day, that the regulatory requirements become not even a concern to us. We can now look at them across every effective right party connect, every customer we've spoken to, and ensure that every agent has done the regulatory requirements as standard. Then moving on to the requirements that our clients may have, because they would vary from client to client as well. And then obviously we as a business have a requirement to stay in business, so there has to be an end result that satisfies all 4 parties. And Vocal Coach has been tremendous in giving us the practical application and the comfort for the agent to understand that when they come off that call, if all those are ticked or disappeared, we have achieved the ultimate. We have achieved what the call should look like, and that the outcome is the correct outcome. It might not always be that the customer's going to pay us, it might not always be, but the correct outcome has come because we've qualified everything that we've done. And that's been a tremendous asset to the business going forward. And it gives us, as I say, 100% QA on all of the right party connects that we do as a company, as opposed to 5%. the learning curves, I'm sure you can imagine, that come out of that in regards to any failures that we do, agents' requirements for training that then get passed on to our training teams for them to go ahead and monitor and control and improve the agents. Someone mentioned early in the presentation about the lifetime of an agent and the churn of agents, and being in a call centre environment, collection centre environment, that is always going to be reasonably high. Since the introduction of Vocal Coach to our agents, we've seen a marked improvement in that churn rate, because we're supporting them with technology, and also hopefully our managers and supervisors over and above. So Vocal Coach was certainly a tremendous asset to the business. The speech analytics is also an area that we now, again, has given us a great insight into our business. I think it was Niles was talking about the soft evaluators. Well, again, in our industry, as I mentioned, we're not probably the most popular phone call most people are going to receive during their day. So things like the soft indicators about crosstalk, pace, volume, stress levels. We've created a slight product in-house called Zincology. Zincology is the study of those soft indicators at agent level. So do our agents start to get stressed as well as our customers in certain environments? And if so, what question or what were they talking about that got either or both to that level of stress? If volumes get raised, there tends to be a conflict there as well. Do we have agents where that happens more regularly than it should do? You know, and if you can do that crosstalk as an pace, anything that gives us an indication of the interaction between our agent and our customer allows us to take away and evaluate what those agents are doing and where the training requirements review. And again, we're doing that virtually on a 100% basis. So as a business, taking support of 4 different clients, our client, our customer, our regulation, and our in-house agent, to have these evaluators allows us as a business to very, very quickly grasp where we are, what's working well, what needs further requirement and training, and where we can go as a business. And but not to put too fine a point on it, it also gives us a USP in our marketplace that there's no, at this moment in time, and I'm sure the people at Enghouse hope that changes very quickly. We are the only credit management business using lifetime voice analytics to my knowledge, so, but I'm sure they're hoping that will change rather quickly. But it is something that having our clients come in and understand what we do and how we treat their customers by the use of both Vocal Coach and lifetime speech analytics has won us a huge amount of business over the last year or so that we've been utilising it, culminating in our award for best use of collection technology in conjunction with Enghouse at the Credit Today Awards last week. I think very briefly, because I could go on probably all day, and Patricia did warn me before we got started that I wasn't to go on for an hour, to try and keep it as succinct as I possibly could. I think I'll hand back to, is it Jeremy, on that basis, and let you guys carry on from there. Hello.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, Doogie. That was really, really insightful, and I think everyone on the webinar will agree that's quite often, I think, when you talk about technology, especially for people that work inside a software company, it's very easy to get wrapped up in features and functions and capabilities. And I think many of the people on the webinar today will have been thrilled to hear somebody out there in the real world that's deployed the technology and is getting the benefits that you've discussed. And certainly from Enghouse's perspective, we're very grateful for you to take the time today to share that experience with us. So with that said, it probably is time to bring the session to a conclusion. So I think what we've seen today, and hopefully some of the thoughts that you'll be left with, is that there's an awful lot of capability within the quality management suite that we have to offer, and it is a modular solution. So you're not buying everything in one hit. And I think, as Doogie alluded to, this is much more than a technology story. It's about looking at the people and the processes and your organisation culturally and working out how the technology can dovetail with the way you want your business to run. And so with that said, I'm going to bring the session to a close. I think there may have been some questions, and so with that we've got a final poll, and then we'll take things from there.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, just so one more final poll. Let me see if I can launch this. And the question is, what do you consider are the top 3 most important technologies for your business? Is that agent evaluation, real-time speech analytics, call recording, coaching training improvement, or service level improvements? Again, I'll just give you a little bit of time to make your choice, and then I'll just display the results. Okay, there's still quite a few people voting. Okay, here we go. So let's see. So here are the results. So both at 81% here, Jeremy. We've got agent evaluation, coaching training improvement, followed by call recording, service level improvement, and then finally the real-time speech analytics. Again, is that kind of what we've been seeing in the business, in the market at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing there is absolutely consistent with the companies that that we're dealing with. I mean, the cornerstone of this is that a call recording, an agent evaluation. Ultimately, this is about, as Doogie mentioned, this is about coaching and assisting and helping the agent do a better job and actually make their day and improve their day. Nobody wants to turn up to work and feel they're not doing a good job. So I think being able to evaluate agents, but doing it in a constructive, collaborative way, as opposed to just sort of measuring handle time, is something that has a profound impact on the business and the quality of the customer service that they're offering, and also, as Dougie mentioned, agent churn. What is interesting is, I think, on the back of hopefully today's session, people have starting to see the capability of real-time speech analytics, and that's certainly something, from our experience, when this technology is shown to people or trialed within many organizations, people do very rapidly see business benefits, and it's something that they wish to develop and enhance, as has been the case with Zinc Group.
Thank you, Jeremy. Okay, if we can go into questions now. We've just got a couple of questions that have come in. One is, how do you differentiate your product from other products in the market? So the real-time speech analytics, I believe.
Well, I think one of the big key differentiators was something that Neil's talked about. The way the speech analytics engine works is it's phonetically based, it's phrase based. So if you look at the probability of success, if you're measuring kind of one word and you're converting that speech to text and then trying to run an analytics engine over that, the success rate is very low. The opportunity for misinterpretation is quite high, which ultimately then starts to undermine everything that you're trying to do. By measuring phonetically, correct phrases, as Neil said, the hit rate is something like late 90%, so sort of 95, 98%, success rate. So that allows you to have a really high degree of confidence in what you're doing. And as we talked about, when you're in a regulated space, such as the one that Doogie's working in with the FCSA, you need to feel confident that the technology you're using is going to deliver on that promise and not just kind of get things right half the time. Also important that you've got this ability to correct things in real time, and also important that you can create flags and triggers to escalate to a supervisor to correct something serious in real time, as opposed to post-call, or hope that you get it on the 5% sample.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Just another question here. What is used to determine a natural voice?
Yes, I guess that is one that is up to me. I'm not entirely sure what this question aims at. We've got soft evaluators where you can determine the quality of the connection, such as, you know, do we have in the voice IP world jitter or drops or this kind of thing. Beyond that, obviously, you know, you sound like a robot if you're just rattling off a script. So that would be probably, you know, too fast anyway. So you know, it would be caught by things such as clear speaking. You know, are you speaking clearly enough, or are you speaking too fast?
Thank you, Niels. Just one more question here. How easy is it to script it for a multi-services within a contact center?
Well, that's really very easy. First of all, the product obviously supports different configurations, so you can have more than one. And then what we do is, as a call starts, or as you start the coaching session, you would start with a configuration in which we can actually, based on things that have been said, can determine what kind of category a call is in. So you can actually use the software to determine whether it's a complaint call or support call, this kind of thing. It's also possible to change configurations based on external events, such as you know, choice or changing the workflow in the CM system, or opening a certain dialogue in the CM system. All of those events can be thrown towards the vocal coach and then be used in order to change the configuration, so we can temporarily use one for payment card processing, because obviously you don't want to record that, but you still want to make sure that the agent is doing it right, and so on and so on.
Okay, we'll just one more question, because it's already gone past 11. So what happens if the agent has a heavy accent? So this is good for you, Niels.
Yes, well, you will have noticed that I have a slight accent as well, and you will have seen that actually that didn't pose a problem at all. So the speech recognizer that we're using has very good language packs, and so far the accent has not posed a problem. And Zinc Group is actually a good example. One of their offices is up in Glasgow, and arguably the accent there is present, and you know, our software didn't have any problems with that.
Great, thank you for that. So we're going to end the webinar there. Thank you everyone who joined today. As we said before, the recording will be made available as well as the slides in the next couple of days. Thanks again for Doogie for joining us. I hope you all found it very useful. Thank you very much and have a good day.